Good morning, Wally. How you doing on this fine Saturday?
Doing great, Dave. Thank you very much. How are you doing this week and today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm a little. I've had my coffee.
I'm
a little jumpy this morning.
I need coffee just to feel like I'm aware. It's just kind of that morning pick me up. So I'm ready to go and looking forward to the show with you
It's
today.
my routine. I do have a couple of cups every morning. It's my little routine. And
Yeah, I normally have a pot by noon.
Okay.
And I'll have a pot of coffee. So I live on coffee. Probably need to drink a little more water, but hey, it gets me going every day.
What do we have on tap for today? What are we going to talk about?
We've got a great show for our listeners today. We'll do our regular market update so that our listeners will know what's going on. We've got a guest appearance. Guess what? My wife, Cindy Kerr, is joining us today.
Yes.
For the first time on our show. She's been in real estate just as long as me, 36 years for each of us. And so Cindy's going to join us today and talk a little bit about the market.
It's good to have a pretty face in here.
We need the help, don't we?
Yes.
We have faces for radio as we talk about.
Yes.
We've got a caller with a question about moving quickly and getting the most money for her home.
Okay.
By the way, if our listeners would like to leave a message and we'll answer their questions, they can call 844-211-3817. And this is extension number 1234 for our show. I made that easy.
Okay.
Again, if you're listening, 844-211-3817. You won't be live on the show, but you can leave a recorded message and we'll answer that. And when you call in, that extension number is 1234 that you dial in.
Easy.
All you have to do is ask your question, and you'll hear us play it here on the show, and we'll answer your question.
Fantastic.
We've got a topic today. Are multiple offers and offers over listing price still likely for home sellers, even with interest rates higher?
Okay.
The way that they are now, we'll address that. We'll talk about the homes of the week and some coming soon listings. So if our listeners would like to get a sneak peek at some homes that aren't on the market yet, we'll tell you about those today. Got some good ones, as always. And then we'll end up our show today talking about the month of June and what to expect over the next 30 to 60 days.
It's going to be busy.
It's going to be a great show today.
Welcome back to Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show. We want to talk about the market, what the feds are doing. I know sometimes we have little change week to week, and then sometimes we get big news.
Right.
Any news this week, and what do we expect interest rates to be?
Let's bust through a real quick update, Dave.
Okay.
So home sales dipped the week of Memorial Day, and that's normal and that's typical, and the data shows that.
Okay.
But now sales have increased this week. There's a lot of pent-up buyer demand right now. A lot of people that are waiting for, that right home to come on the market. So they're watching the market really closely. I heard it referred to this week, Dave, as what's called shadow demand.
Okay.
Shadow
What's
demand, okay? So that's buyers waiting for either new selection to arrive or maybe a crack in affordability, like you were talking about. Maybe they're looking for those interest rates to drop a quarter, 0.3% so they can pounce and jump.
Okay.
So in the past, Dave, we used to refer to this as shadow inventory. This is different. So shadow inventory was sellers who are ready to sell, but they're not yet on the market. That was shadow inventory. Shadow demand is what we're seeing right now. These are, again, potential buyers waiting for anything new to pop on the market, kind of that dream home that we talk about in here, always talking about the dream home, or for the rates to drop, or maybe for prices to drop, which I don't see happening, and we'll talk about that. So we call it shadow demand because these are people that are sitting out there, haven't acted yet, and they haven't made a mortgage application. So we can't measure those numbers, okay? Nationwide, Dave, new home sales in May were said to be phenomenal with the underlying demand for buyers looking for homes to buy. And I think the builders did really, really well, according to the numbers.
All right.
People jumping on brand new homes because they couldn't find what they wanted. June's expected to be the biggest month for demand, for this entire year. Hey, we've talked about that. It's buying and selling season, right?
Yes.
So this is the month when people buy homes. And the peak of the spring inventory should really be right now. Homes for sale. So if you're going to sell, it's time to get it done if you want to capitalize on the market. Dave, by mid-July, it's expected there will be fewer homes for sale across the nation than this time last year. This applies in the Oklahoma City metro area. There are fewer homes for sale right now than there were a year ago, and I've looked at those stats.
Wow.
And by July, we expect there to be negative inventory growth, okay? There's no reason for people sitting on these low interest rates to go in and just suddenly start listing their homes for sale. So inventory is expected to continue to decline through July, while buyers are buying more homes. So negative inventory growth. There's not going to be enough homes to satisfy the number of buyers.
And more
that want to buy.
competition because less homes. And you just made a great point, the shadow buyers, right? I mean, there's even more that we don't even know about. So that's going to create even more demand for your home if you list it now.
It is. It is. I think that buyers understand clearly that interest rates are not going to see a big change from where they are right now. And the good news is with the shrinking inventory, now this is interesting, Dave, with the shrinking inventory year over year from last year, fewer homes available today, that's generally associated with rising home prices for next year. Not enough inventory shrinking right now, no reason for more people to sell. Looks like another good year for appreciation and rising home prices next year. If you're going to buy, probably the time to do it right now.
Awesome. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment, and we have a special guest with us.
We
and
do.
You'll hear from her coming up next. And we're back, and Wally, we have a special guest with us. It is Cindy Kerr, and it is relation.
We brought
Usually
the
say no
we brought
relation.
the brains
but yes,
to the operation.
We did,
today.
absolutely. The face and the brains. Cindy, welcome. Thanks for joining us early on a Saturday morning.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be here.
Now, I did hear a little tidbit when we were talking during the break that you're an equestrian, or you're into equestrian. Is that right?
You know, it's just been along with real estate, it's been my passion all my life. From the time I rode little ponies when I was 10 years old to now I show, and just showed
Wow.
Western dressage up at the Lazy E in Guthrie and won a championship.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
I have ridden horses through Jackson Hole, Wyoming, had a pack horse through the High Sierras, rode across Death Valley twice. It's just
Wow.
something I kind of have an adventurous spirit.
Okay, so Wally knows this. My son is on the equestrian team at Southern Nazarene.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yes,
know
so
that.
he's competed for 2 years, done fantastic. Never rode before, just went and tried out for the team, and he's
Wow.
winning competitions, doing well. But we can go on for about 30 minutes with this. This is fantastic. That is so cool. So, hey, let's talk about how you started out. And you're from Southern California.
Right.
I'm from Northern California. It's good to have representatives from the Golden State in here this
Right,
morning.
sure.
Did you start out in real estate in Southern California?
I did. You know, as a matter of fact, Wally and I were licensed both, just kind of surprisingly, in July of 1987. Me in Southern California, Wally in Norman, Oklahoma.
It was
So
meant to be.
It was.
A match made in heaven.
There you go. And so we met at a real estate conference that was being held in Mexico, and I had been a realtor in Southern California for 7 years. Moved here, got married, and it was an interesting transition from selling real estate in Southern California. As you know, those prices are
Yes,
a lot
absolutely.
different
Yes.
to selling real estate here, and frankly, it's been wonderful. I love the affordability here.
Okay.
We live on a horse property, on land, own investment property, things that I just couldn't do in Southern California.
So a sidebar, you both are very good at what you do. So I know that Wally must be a little bit better because he sold you on coming here as opposed to going out there and living with you there. So I see that Wally won. And
He's got some sales skills.
yes, yes. Well, I still have family that lives out in California, and my grandmother, who just turned 100 this year, they bought their home out there in 1967.
Oh my
Paid
goodness.
just over $50,000 for it in a really nice area of Saratoga, California. You can imagine over 50 years of
Appreciation.
appreciating that she's doing okay. She's in assisted living, and that more than pays for everything she's doing there. But how have the home rates appreciated in California compared to Oklahoma? Are there similarities? Are there differences?
You know, there's just such wild swings in my marketing area in Southern
Okay.
California. Huge appreciation swings, but then also times when values would go down. I remember sitting with some clients once, and they just couldn't understand their house had gone down $100,000. And they said, but we put down $100,000. Where is our money? And I remember saying, well, it's gone.
Wow.
The market has changed. And that was just heartbreaking. You know, it's interesting too, when I sold real estate there, I always wanted to invest in real estate. I wanted to have a retirement and, as a good realtor, have some investment property. But the cash flow the numbers never worked out. I would get flyers from people in Texas and Oklahoma about how great investments were here in real estate, but I couldn't make it work there. So that was one of the first things Wally and I did when I moved here, is I said, let's buy some investment property.
Fantastic.
And it's been wonderful for us. You know, over the years, our tenants have made the payment for us. We've been able to write off the expense of the payment. We've been able to depreciate the property in terms of depreciating the value of the actual dwelling. And we've come out ahead, and now we have paid off properties that not only provide for our retirement, but also are going to be a legacy for our kids and grandkids. So it's just a win-win with real estate here.
So I'll say last 3 years, last 3 to 4 years, especially with COVID and the feds, what's the term? Non-organically making the rates so low to help people out, and a lot of people went on a buying spree. The home values went up quite a bit. We talk about a lot in Edmond and Yukon and Norman, where they've increased by 25 and 30% and even higher. Now we've gotten out of that into, I guess, what we call normal times. What's your read on the market now for buyers and for sellers, just in general? What's your read?
You know, we still have a shortage of inventory, and we have kind of the population boom that happened 25, 30 years ago is now coming online and wanting to buy houses. So we just have this shortage of inventory, but the great part here is we've got good employment, we have a good economy, and so we see a natural increase in values, but not to the extent that I used to see in Southern California that caused for these huge spikes and then drops. I like the fact that here it's more stable. Somebody can buy a home, a new family, a young family can buy a home. In Southern California, we couldn't even put a new family in a home because the FHA limits were so
Yes.
low. They had to have these huge down payments, and a lot of my clients there ended up having to go to the desert to buy their first home. That sounds funny, but I used to say to people, in my marketing area, kind of the LA basin, there's just nothing you can afford. You're going to have to go out to the desert to buy your first home. And that was sad, whereas here, a young new family can afford a home.
So, with banks are always touting their CDs or different investments that you can get into, and that's a great way to, over time, to gain wealth. But obviously, investments in real estate is another great way to do it. How would you compare maybe banks to real estate? And if someone wants to get into investing in real estate, how much do they need to put down? Is it a worthwhile investment if they don't have a lot of money to put down? Are they going to see their equity grow? What are your comments on that?
You know, the difference between just putting money in the bank and in a CD is the fact that you have to put $50,000 for a $50,000 CD. But the whole leverage idea is different in real estate. So you may be able to put 5 or 10% down, but have the entire value of the property grow 5, 10% over a few years. So you're actually leveraging your money, and that's been wonderful for Wally and me in terms of our investments. It's just been a great way to build wealth.
And especially here in Oklahoma, like you said, the market in California going up and down. And since you talked about that, it could actually dip, and you said someone lost $100,000 in equity, and I'm sure if they waited it out, just like anything, just like your 401k,
Right.
you put money into your 401k and you forget about it. Just keep paying that home loan off, and again over time, it's going to gain in equity. Again, with the last couple of years, I always bring the term the wild west, with the interest rates being so low and starting to come back up now. Are you concerned at all, being from California, knowing about market corrections and things? They're going up and down. Are you concerned at all about Oklahoma having a market correction where values can start to go down at all, or are we good here in Oklahoma?
You know, some of it's seasonal. I think as demand kind of controls the market to some extent, it can be seasonal. Wally talks about being at the peak of the market in the peak season in the summertime. But for the most part, we're pretty stable. And I have to say that these interest rates, they were unrealistically low, as you talked about, as the Fed kind of did things to motivate people to buy back during the pandemic. But you know, I remember, I'm telling my age here, but I remember buying a house back in '82, and I remember having the seller finance it at 14%. And then I also remember selling real estate in Southern California, and same with here, when interest rates got below 10%, we said, as realtors, wow, single digit rates, 9%. This is awesome.
And you were celebrating that.
And we were celebrating that. So you've got to look at that here and say, you know, if we're at 6, 7, that's a pretty normal rate. And I think as folks get used to that, it's going to feel right. And I think we have such a stable economy here and good employment that it's a good time to buy.
And there's so many programs out there, especially for first-time home buyers, when I talk about them, that are a little bit nervous. They're really comfortable just paying rent. They know what it's going to be. They can afford it. And then all of a sudden, oh, I have to finance this. And they're thinking about just this huge number, $300,000. And I'm used to paying $750 a month. I can't picture this. And they need to realize that there's programs, and you're just putting a little money down, and over time, the equity that you gain is I mean, you can't put a price on the equity that you have when you invest in a home versus just paying rent.
You know, that's absolutely right. And the security of knowing that you have a fixed rate. When I sold in Southern California, it was so unaffordable that people had to have adjustable rate loans. But here, it's so affordable that people can get a fixed rate loan. So think about the fact, as a renter, every year, possibly your landlord sends you something that increases your rent.
Yes.
And now here, you've got that fact that you have a fixed rate loan. And so as your family grows and you have more expenses, your monthly payment, except for taxes and insurance, which of course are going to go up some, but your monthly principal and interest is going to remain the same, and that's a good feeling.
You know, I think Wally just needs to go out and get us some donuts and coffee. We're good here. She's fantastic. This has been great.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, glad to have Cindy on the show. And, you know, the only thing I'd add to what she said was you kept alluding to Southern California and what's gone on. Dave and Cindy, I looked at some numbers this week that said the peak of the market. Now, Cindy was in Ventura County, and I looked at LA County, Ventura County, and the peak of the market there was April of 2022, about the same here in the Oklahoma City metro. And from that time, April 2022, to the most recent data I looked at, showed about a 9.4% decrease in prices in California. Now, before you do gulp listening to our show, here in Oklahoma, we've not seen more than about a 1.5% decrease in prices. Here's these big swings that Cindy was talking about again. Big swings in the market in California, 9+% decrease there right now. Now, guess what? It's peak season out in California also, so those prices should come back up in June and July. So it is a very affordable market here. Once you buy, long-term real estate's always been a good investment, and I think the investments and rental properties that Cindy and I have bought together have proven that. They're a big part of our retirement and our wealth, and buying real estate is typically a good investment.
Cindy Kerr joining us this morning. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, Wally, I understand that we have a caller. We have a recorded message, and there's actually a way that listeners could call in, record a message if they have a question, a comment for the show, and we might be able to actually put it on the show. Like, we're going to play this in just a minute. Let me know, what's the number if someone wants to call in and comment?
Yeah, we created that for our listeners. It's 1-844-211-3817. And then it'll ask you for an extension number. Just dial in 1234. Be aware you're not going to talk to anyone live. What you're going to do is just record your message, and we'll play it on the air, and then we'll respond to our caller. How's that, Dave?
That's
just
fantastic.
like we're going to do today.
Okay, let's listen to it right here. Here's our caller.
Okay, this is really a great question from our caller today, because everybody knows that they're not driving around as much as they used to. They're looking at homes on the internet.
Yes.
And they are looking really actively right now in response to our caller, because this is peak buying season, as we've talked about. So they're watching for homes literally every day. They're going home and they're searching for homes because they don't want to miss out on their perfect home.
Yes.
And so what's important to remember is people go through typically just 5 to 7 pictures, and they either like what they see or they move on.
Yes.
So you have to catch up a looker's interest very, very quickly.
Yes.
And so this is why her question is so good, is should I get somebody to go bring in some furniture? I don't have great furniture. Boy, I didn't. When I bought my first home, Dave, I had a beanbag in the living room.
Oh, that's
big
fantastic.
Red beanbag that I got as a teenager.
And a pinball machine.
Yeah.
Oh, how
Well,
great is that?
This is true. When Cindy met me, I was a bachelor, and I had a Coke machine and a stoplight and a pinball machine in my living room. And
And a beanbag.
And a beanbag. And those got detoured pretty quickly. We
Went
redecorated.
out the door.
But again, the question here is, does my home look good enough to be super appealing to buyers? Are people going to be hopping off the shelf, calling and asking to see my home? This is the kind of demand I want for my property.
And you've mentioned before how important it is to, sometimes you just have to move that ottoman out or back a little bit, because spatial awareness. If I'm looking at pictures, I might, if it's an empty room, oh, that's a small room. That's not going to fit what I need. When it really is, it could be large. And you have different ways to do that, of course, with actual furniture to put in there. There's virtual ways to do that, which I think you're going to comment on. But you're right. If you just see something and you can't get in your head how you can live there, click, I'm on to the next one.
Cindy, you and I have seen that a lot. We'll go over to someone's home to help them set their home up for their best pictures. Sometimes it's just a matter of pulling the couch or the love seat back a foot inside the living room, because the furniture is grouped very closely together. Maybe there's a big coffee table or an ottoman in the middle of the room. When you frame it up for a picture, all of a sudden it looks like the living room is the exact size of the open space between the TV and the furniture. And so you and I have recommended taking ottomans or large coffee tables out, sometimes pulling the furniture back 12 to 18 inches to make the living room look better. Makes a big difference in the way the pictures look, doesn't it?
It does, and case in point, when Wally and I sold our last house 5 years ago and built the house we're in now, having done this years and years, I took out a lot of furniture, and Wally came in the living room and said, "It looks empty in here."
Yeah, I thought we were already moving, but
And-
she did an excellent job of staging. And staging doesn't just mean just furniture, right?
It doesn't. And I say less is more in pictures. The fact that people can really see the elements of the home, so they can see sheetrock and architectural details. You're not selling the furniture. You're selling the features of the home, whether it's the fireplace, whether it's built-ins, whether
That's
it's
a really good point.
architectural details, and you have to be able to showcase that. And if you have too many things, especially in a picture on the internet, people's eyes are drawn to the things as opposed to being drawn to what stays with the home.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, let's stay really quickly on track for our caller's questions. So I think Cindy's point, though, is good. People ask me and say, should I declutter my closets? And the answer to that is, if you look like you're out of room and somebody opens your closet, that's the picture they're going to have
Yes.
about what it's going to be like for them in a short amount of time. Kitchen countertops. Cindy always says, clean those kitchen countertops off. If you've got a real pretty backsplash that you really want people to see, instead of seeing the Keurig, the spatulas,
Let
the
'em
knives,
see
the
it.
paper towels, let them
Yeah.
see it. You don't even have to have a beautiful backsplash. What you want to exhibit is that you have a lot of countertop space for food preparation and for, food storage, I guess, inside cabinetry and countertop areas and places to put things. But you don't want to crowd it up with too many possessions. So in her case, a couple of spare bedrooms, yes. You could bring in some furniture and buy some furniture. You could leave it vacant. And the only issue, I think, Cindy, with leaving a room vacant is when people look online, sometimes pictures can be deceiving. And so it's hard for people to imagine what that room size is like. Maybe someone has queen beds for their guest bedrooms, and they think, is that big enough for a queen, or is it only going to be a twin size or a full that's going to fit?
That's exactly right. They don't get a feeling for the scale of the room. And that's where our virtual staging has come in. I do a lot of that. And that is actually picking furniture out of a catalog virtually and having an IT person place that furniture, place decor, place paintings on the wall, place rugs that are very attractive in terms of the color scheme. I try to pick things that I think are appropriate for the age of the buyer who would be looking at that home, so that they just feel like, wow, this could fit my family's needs.
So, as someone who didn't know about that myself, Wally mentioned that, and I went online after our show. I got home and I went online and looked at it, and it was amazing. There's certain products that look like that looks real.
Yes.
Because it's not like you just cut and paste a picture, because the orientation's going to be off and the
Yes.
dimension's going to be off. No, the way everything's in it, in the forefront, the background, it looks completely staged. You're right, the colors, and you want something contemporary, more traditional. You have everything to put in there, and I was just clicking around. I got lost thinking how this wasn't real furniture in there, and I was sitting there thinking, well, that would look great in that room, and this would look great. So I'm already bought in to the house, thinking like, yes, I could put a chair there, I could put this, because it looks beautiful there. It really is pretty cool.
It's so cool because, case in point, I had one house I staged, and it was really attractive looking, the color scheme. And the lady who I ended up showing the house, of course, the house was vacant, no furniture, no decor. And when I brought the lady, the prospective buyer, to that home, she walked in and she said, well, where's the furniture? I love the blue you put in. And I said, well, it's virtual. And she said, yeah, but where is it? And I said, well, it's on the computer. But you know what it did for her? It allowed her to see the scale of how she could decorate.
And there you go.
That's exactly right, because that house was kind of vanilla inside. But putting those colors in that were very appealing allowed her to envision how she could do it.
Well, and we don't put odd furniture inside these homes as virtual. Furniture like this is available for sale. We've actually had buyers say, thank you for showing me how I might decorate the home on the inside. I'm not a decorator myself. Thanks for the ideas. I'm going to go try to find furniture like this because I think it looks really good on the inside. Another case in point. We have a current listing that is now under contract. Dave, you and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. If you're listening today, and you can go to a computer, by the way, if you're listening Saturday morning, and maybe you're driving, maybe you're not near a computer, our show repeats Sundays at noon.
Yes.
So look at 1100 West Lindsay Street in Norman, which is virtually staged. It's under contract to a very happy buyer. It's supposed to close here in a few weeks. Dave, the owner of that home, they were in their 60s and early 70s. And had furniture that maybe you would expect somebody in their early 60s or 70s to have.
It might look
right?
a little dated.
Maybe so. And
bit.
so they moved out and had to move back to Florida. And we virtually staged, and she called the moment she saw the pictures. We got it all done, sent it to her for approval. And she called and said, you know what you did? She said, you took a home that I didn't have decorated to look as good as it could look, and you made it look fantastic. And she said, I want to buy that home today. And I said, wait a minute, you already own it.
You're the owner.
This is your home.
So several times recently, look at 1100 West Lindsay Street. Also look at a home at 1200 Southern Hills Circle, which is also virtually staged.
And that's in Norman.
And that's a Norman home. I started my career in Norman. We're now metro-wide and beginning to move to work statewide with locations in different cities, Shawnee, Enid, serving the Tulsa area in the near future. But I started my career in Norman, so lots and lots and lots of customers where I started who are turning around and selling now. And so I think the point here is, let's get back to her question, is do I need to bring furniture in? Okay. Do I need to go in and, buy some furniture, which would be expensive? And who knows, she's moving out of state. The furniture she buys here to fit this home, maybe it won't fit the home that she buys out of state, wherever she's moving.
Yes.
Maybe she would go to look only for a home that fit the furniture that she bought, but then that limits her possibilities.
And it's expensive to move the furniture.
So virtual staging, which even has shadows underneath the furniture.
I noticed that as
seen,
well. Yes.
Virtual staging is a great option, and I just want to add this. So fortunately, Cindy has that gift. There are some people that are just decorators that are better decorators than others. I am not a good decorator. I don't want to choose colors for a customer. I'm not the guy to ask. That's Cindy's gift, is picking colors and seeing things that work well together. Even if another realtor said they could do virtual staging, there's still the element of picking the right colors, the right furniture styles. And as you said just a few minutes ago, Cindy, it's a matter of looking at the home and saying, who's the most likely buyer here?
That's right.
Dave, a quick example. If you were looking online at a 4,000 square foot home with a large backyard and a pool and a 2-story, isn't it a true statement that probably somebody in their 60s or 70s is not going to buy that home?
Yes, that's true.
And probably someone that's in their 20s can't afford to buy a 4,000 square foot home with a pool, 2-story on 2 acres. So who's the most likely buyer for a home like that?
Someone in their early 40s, maybe.
There you go. 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
maybe early 50s. They don't really want to climb stairs. They're young enough to do so. So now Cindy always tells me and says, I'm going to pick virtual staging furniture that would appeal to that buyer.
Yeah.
That's right.
I hate to say it, that could be kind of the keeping up with the Joneses. I want my home to look as good or better than my friends.
Sure.
Not to say everybody thinks that way, but then they want it to look really good on the inside with modern, contemporary, and that doesn't mean real contemporary furnishings,
it's
right,
more
Cindy?
it is. It's more transitional. I don't want anything, kind of the middle of the bell curve. I don't want anything that looks old-fashioned, but I don't want anything that looks like the cockpit of a jet airliner either.
Okay.
No
want
Jetsons furniture,
Yeah,
right?
I want something in between. But I also look at not only the house itself, but I look at the front of the house. I look at the neighborhood. Is it in a historical area? Who is that buyer? So that when they see those pictures, they immediately feel like, I could live there.
And I would feel that way if I was one that wanted a pinball machine. If I wanted a Coke machine. If I wanted
Where
to
is that pinball machine?
Where is
So,
that
We
buyer?
bring it all back to the start. All right, that was a really good call and a great comments on what would really help her sell her home, basically. And if someone else has a question for us, Wally?
Again, if they've got a question, 1-844-211-3817, and you can leave a recorded message. You don't have to talk to anyone. That extension number when you call in is 1234.
We'll be right back. Well, fantastic. You're listening to Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show. We just talked about one house. We had that caller. Let's talk about a broader range here of, after hearing and watching what the market did last spring, obviously back in around 2021, homes are getting many offers, and some offers over listed price that we've heard about in the past. I'd assume higher interest rates might have affected this. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, Dave, especially for homeowners that are about to place their home on the market, is realistic expectations. I looked recently, and there's quite a few homes that are still sitting that haven't sold, that have been put on the market in the last 2 or 3 months. Some of that's not the homeowner's fault, Dave. Rates have gone up. There are fewer buyers inside the marketplace. So pricing is key. And I think more than ever right now, people need an expert inside the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't need their home to sell in 3 days, but most people also don't want their home to take 60 to 90 days to sell.
Yes.
Because it could be a buyer's perception now that if a home sits on the market too long, there must be something wrong with it. And guess what? Now, in a lot of cases, a buyer thinks if a home sits on the market more than 2 weeks, because they've observed what has happened over the last couple of years, that there is something wrong with the home. So pricing is very, very important. Part of it's going to be where your price range is.
Okay.
So the market is super hot under, say, $300,000 in most parts of the metro. But let's face it, you get into Oak Tree in Edmond, Rose Creek, you get into Nichols Hills,
Yes.
there can be multiple offers and escalation clauses and people bidding over listed price on homes that are $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to depend on location and the area and the metro. And then part of it, Dave, is how many homes are you competing with at that point? For instance, I'm about to put a home up in Gaillardia. We'll talk about that in a few minutes in our coming soon section.
Okay.
There's some homes available in Gaillardia, but based on the square footage and price range of this home, it's going to be a really, really excellent offer. So even that home at over $1 million in the $1.2 million range could see 2 or 3 buyers interested in it. I think the big key here is that there's a bigger fight for lower priced homes, but the right home at the right price, as we just talked about, can get multiple offers. The key is your home's got to be marketed right and enough demand created with timing and strategy. And there's specific strategies that promote competition, more interest in a home, and a higher selling price. And that's what we create in a marketing plan that we build for each owner that we go to work with.
So that even helps out right now because this is the buying season. We know that June's a really big month for home sales. Families want to move. They want to get their kids into the new neighborhood and not rush them into school and rushing to make new friends. How long is the summer season? How long is this window staying open for home sellers who are about to list or who maybe have their homes on the market? What about homes that maybe have been on the market a little longer than the owner expected? We are in that buying season. What about those homes that they've been there for 60 days?
Really good questions, Dave. They really are, because we probably need to expound on that a bit. When someone said, yeah, Wally, I heard you talking about me here a minute ago. My home's been on the market 60 days. I'm getting a little concerned. What do I do here? So for homeowners whose home has been on the market longer than expected, it's time to review price and condition, right?
Yes.
I mean, can you change the location for a home?
No.
Oh, and for as long as I've been in the industry, and Cindy, it's always been price, condition, and location. So if you can't change your location, it's time to look at price or condition. If you say, gosh, I really need the equity out of my home, I'm moving out of state, I'm going to a higher market, I need more equity here, the things you can do is look and say, how can I improve my condition? What's the showing feedback that I'm getting? Am I getting feedback from buyers or from the realtor that's working for me?
Sure.
Are you getting good communication? Are you getting good feedback? And what is the market saying that you need to do? You know, the agent should already be doing a stellar job at marketing. You know, for instance, I've got a Google and a social media department at my office to assure great exposure for every home, you know, along with really good contact and regular contact and discussions with our home sellers so that they know what's going on.
Keeping them in the loop.
So, yeah, that's right. So the window, your question, the window and how long
Yes.
will this window stay open? It's wide open right now. The window's wide open for sellers in June, which is the strongest buying month of the year. When does it start to close? So, you know, it starts closing, Dave, in the month of July. And we've talked about that, right?
Yeah.
And why do people want to make that decision by, say, mid-July?
Well, because if you're thinking about it then, it really is going to take you a couple of weeks to get the house ready to sell. And then you're at the end of July or you're into August and school's about to start and you're done. You're done. People with families, their deadline is passed and they either bought another home or they're going to wait till next year.
Dave, you're going to sell your home. How big do you want the buyer pool to be for your home?
I want it to be large.
Big, right?
And that's why I go to Wally, because Wally has the buyers.
Well, and we do.
.com.
And it's also because of Zillow and our partnership.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we were really lucky to be chosen as one of the Oklahoma City real estate teams because of our size, because of the reviews that that Zillow looked at. They called us and said, we're looking for a team that can handle many customers, and we would like to help you. We would like you to help us, Wally, and your team with home buyers that are looking to take tours of homes.
Yes.
So they're sending us dozens of buyers every single month by phone calls that Zillow connects us with, looking for homes. And I can tell you that volume has picked up, as you would guess. But as we talked about, you want a lot of people looking for a home when your home is for sale.
More demand.
More demand means more buyers. More buyers means more offers. More offers means a higher selling price for you. So if you're a home seller, I want to put my home on the market when the window is wide open and there's more people looking. June is the buying month. So this is the time to get it done. Where we really excel, Dave, is creating more demand for a home than an owner can ever do on their own, and that they're going to be able to do with most any other agent in the metro. I'm sorry, that's the truth. We create more demand, and my average sales price last year was still, even in a good market, Dave, my average sales price was 2% on average above the average area agent in the metro. That helps you hire me and pay the cost of working with us. But that's where it starts, is more demand means more buyers means more offers. So we're ready to help anyone who still wants to capitalize on this really good market we're in right now. Why is it such a great market? Rates are a little higher, right?
Yes.
But it's June.
Yes.
And there's a lot of demand, and there's a lot of pent-up buyers with that shadow inventory we're talking about.
Oh, that's right. Comes back to that.
Shadow buyers.
Yes.
Really, it's shadow demand is what we talked about.
Okay.
People who haven't yet made a mortgage application. You really can't identify they're out there. They don't want to go buy till they find the right home. They're watching very carefully for new homes to come on the market, and they're also watching to see if they can capitalize on maybe a little bit of an incentive with a little bit lower interest rate. They're there, and they're looking, and if they're looking, this is the time to sell.
It sounds like I need to contact somebody that has like 35 years experience in the market. And do you know anybody that would...
She's sitting right here beside us, part of the show today. Call me and Cindy. We would love to work for you.
Yes.
And create more demand for your home that leads to a higher selling price. Make this convenient. Make this a great selling experience with great communication. And our guaranteed sale program, which just says very simply, as we've talked about, your home sold guaranteed at a price agreeable to you, or we'll buy it. They can reach us, Dave, at 330-3000.
Yes.
We enjoy taking calls. Just because you call, it's not an obligation to do business with us, but bring us to the table. We'd like to meet with you.
And again, I can't reiterate about the experience. You've seen everything. You've seen when rates have been in double digits. You've seen the highs and the lows. You know how to navigate this because you have the experience. And again, if someone is, they just want to know about their home, 330-3000. All they have to do is just send you a text with their address. And again, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think my home is a 7, or I have a brand new pergola and pool. I think it's about an 8, 8.5. My address, an 8.5, and maybe later today or within the next 24 hours, they'll get a text back saying, this is the ballpark figure we think your home is worth.
That's right, Dave. And I'll get that number out as quickly as possible. I'll just end with saying this. If I'm going to go have a surgery, I want it to be as painless as possible.
Yes.
I'm going to go look for the surgeon that's done it many, many years and knows exactly what he's doing and has the experience for my surgery to be successful. I think you can put us in that loop. We're 36 years in the business each. We've got the experience to lead you down the right path and make this as painless as possible.
Okay, so that's an easy way to sell homes. We're going to talk about, if I'm a buyer, we're going to come back after the break and talk about homes that are available next. Okay, so this is one of my favorite parts of the show because we get to talk about houses that are for sale that I can go look at. You have quite the inventory at Wally.
HasTheBuyers.com.
Has the buyers. I was going to say
Check
that,
it out.
but you have the
It's
other
really
one.
at WallyKerr.com.
Okay.
You can see the homes for sale. But we also have a site called dreamhomesoklahoma.com
Yes.
where you can see every home available in the entire metro, including the Tulsa area. So we are expanding in the near future to Tulsa. We are already serving customers there. Dave, we got some listings to talk about this week. And one of the advantages for home sellers who do choose to do business with us, I'll talk about your home right here on our radio
Yes,
show.
yes.
So here are the only listings we've got left for sale. I'm going to run these pretty fast, Dave.
Okay.
They're kind of all over the place. And here's what I want our listeners to know. We work at all price ranges. I've got listings 3 or 4 above $1 million, a couple of homes coming for sale. We've got homes as cheap as $100,000 and everything in between. A lot of our homes are under contract right now. As we've talked about on the show, things are selling pretty quickly.
Yes.
So these homes that are where they've taken our advice and we've helped them with maybe virtual staging or talking to them about getting their home ready,
Yeah.
getting on the market for the right price. We've done very well. Lots and lots of homes. About 2/3 of our inventory right now is under contract.
Oh,
But
wow.
we do have some great homes here. Got one for $100,000 in Hennessy. If you're
Okay.
looking for a great home at 114 South Oak, we've got a property in Noble, which qualifies for 100% financing with no down payment required for $168,000 on 3.3 acres that we just put on the market. That's a great property.
What was the address on that one?
That's 7580 West Painted Sky in Noble, and boy, that's got a lot of activity. That's a really nice manufactured home that's less than 2 years old.
Wow.
Got a home up in Bristow. If you're listening to us up in the Tulsa area, maybe would like to buy an affordable home. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath at 407 East Carlos for $187,000. Hello to our friends up in Tulsa. Got an affordable home in Moore. Boy, home inventory in Moore, Dave, it's just so hard to find anything for sale in Moore.
Yes, that's right.
This is a 4-bed under $200,000 in Moore at 109 South Patterson. Take a look at that one. Got a property in Norman that is only a couple of miles from the university, about 1,700 square feet. That's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car that's had a remodel on the inside, 231.5. Got a nice home in Edmond that's a 4-bed, 2-bath. Wow, a lot of square footage, almost 1,800 square feet and under 240. That's
Okay.
615 Ridgecrest. Got a property in Lexington, Oklahoma, that's also on acreage, 12,400 Willowview, that's $242,000. A nice one in Shawnee for $270,000 that I think is going to sell pretty quick, almost 2,300 square feet. Got one up here just off of Memorial at Rockwell in the Braden Park edition.
Okay.
Dave, you and I looked in that neighborhood when
Yes.
you and your wife bought your home.
Yes, I know.
6, 7, 8 years ago. Great neighborhood, 4-bed, 3-bath, 3-car, two-way fireplace,
Okay.
beautiful pergola in the backyard. It's got an offer on it, but the folks need to sell their home first. So we're looking at that to look at maybe buying it so they can hop into this one with our guaranteed sale program. This one's $335,000. Got a nice farmhouse over in Newalla that's $335,000 on acreage. A couple of acres, 2,150 feet. Got a nice one in a historic area, very near the Plaza District, 2215 Northwest 16th Street, about 3,200 square feet, and it's under
Nice.
$370,000.
And that's a cool area.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
That's a cool area. It's very happening and a cool price on a really good home.
Let's talk about a couple of really nice premier homes for big families, and a couple of these are coming soon.
Okay.
So a couple that aren't on the market yet. So if you think someone might have some interest in these homes I'm going to talk about, give me a call. First of all, I told you I started my career in Norman and worked just in Norman for many,
Yes.
many years. Lots and lots of customers there that have been calling me recently to take advantage of this June market. Dave, I've got 4 homes in Norman that all need some degree of remodeling.
Okay.
And sometimes Cindy and I will sell a home to someone that it's remodeled, but maybe in that remodel the colors aren't picked that are real desirable for the customer. And they walk in and say, yeah, this is nice, but I'm still going to change what I see here. These homes are offering an opportunity for the buyer to pick their own colors,
To make it your own.
do whatever they want to. So 4 really good ones coming up in Norman. One on Sherry Street, backing up to a golf course around 240. One on Mockingbird Street, backing up to a beautiful creek area with trees and decks out back,
Nice.
about $300,000. A nice home for my best friend's family. His mother just passed away. It's in the Oakhurst edition, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, about 2,500 square feet, And this home, I believe, is going to be around 215. Needs some remodeling, and it's very livable.
Perfect for a family.
Mom was living in that home, and passed away recently, but it's very livable, and she was living there and very comfortable.
Yes.
And then one over in East Norman on Devonshire that needs some updating. It's going to be priced right at $200,000 and almost 1,700 feet. So there's some good homes. But we started talking about some of these nice homes we've got coming up.
Yes.
I told you about one in Gaillardia just a few minutes ago. Got a 5,100 square foot home coming up in Gaillardia, 4 bedrooms with a study, beautiful appointments, already been mostly remodeled by the owner, made a lot of changes since they bought it.
Okay.
$1,250,000. And when you look at Gaillardia at 5,100 square feet, you'll see this home is priced right in Oklahoma City's finest gated community, beautiful country club. This is located very close to the community park, the community pool. And gosh, you can walk right over and have dinner at the clubhouse.
Nice.
Within 1,000 feet of the home.
You don't have to cook. Yay!
Yeah, there you go.
This is a beautiful property at $1,250,000. Got another one coming up in Norman that backs up to a lake, has a pool. It's a beautiful farmhouse style, a little more modern, built
Okay.
in 2016.
I like this.
4,650 feet, 4 bedrooms, all split, all have their own bathrooms,
Wow.
a study, a game room, a theater room. This one's going to be priced at $1 million.
Okay.
It's coming very, very soon. And then we put one up this week that backs up to a golf course with a pool,
I like it already.
with a spa,
I love it.
5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, monster master bathroom, beautiful kitchen. And when you sit on your back patio, Dave, you're looking across the pool into the golf course.
And that
Oh.
one is like being on vacation, literally, in your backyard. If you love to entertain, it is just an awesome, awesome location.
Over 5,200 square feet and priced at $1,075,000. What I mentioned earlier is we have homes coming. We have homes that are on the market. We always have homes coming up that are in inventory.
Yes.
That are coming soon. As 36-year realtors with me and Cindy and our team so long in the metro, we're fortunate enough to receive lots and lots of phone calls from people who will be putting their home on the market soon or at some time in the near future. We call those coming soons, off-market properties, and if you'd like to have access to those, give us a call. We're glad to share them with you. 330-3000, and we'll tell you more about any of these properties or properties that we have coming up that maybe I didn't mention today.
I call that insider knowledge. That's what I get by listening to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed
and
radio
you
show.
don't go to jail for that insider knowledge.
That's right. We're back, and we have a little bit of time before we wrap things up. And also, if you have just tuned in on Saturday morning, where we are right now, unless you're listening on Sunday, but we're live on Saturdays. We rebroadcast it at noon on Sundays here on KOKC. So if you're listening to us right now, live on Saturday morning, again, just flip us on at noon tomorrow and you'll be able to listen. And then if you're tuning in on Sunday right now, there's different places where you can go and listen to the podcast, right?
Right. Lots of podcast locations. Just look up, go to Wally Talks Houses, which is our website. You can always download this show or other shows and listen to what you might have missed.
Awesome. Okay, there's a couple of things that we discussed on the break that we should probably still hit. One is interest rates. We cannot talk about that enough because they've been low, they've been high, they're all over the place sometimes, and it's kind of like a roulette wheel sometimes with the Fed, isn't it?
You know, it is, and I kind of wonder if that's how they're making their decisions. That's no disrespect, but certainly there are still economic issues that the Fed is trying to iron out. So it seems like that rhetoric changes, Dave, about every week. 1 week it is, we think we'll leave them alone. And now what we're kind of beginning to hear is they'll probably leave the Fed's rate alone in June, but probably see a rise in July. But you and I know, Dave, it's going to be based on economic data at that time. It'll be based on the consumer price index. It'll be based on inflation numbers. So it really is, like you said, it's a bit like a roulette wheel. I understand it's not easy. I'm not an economist.
I don't want that job, and there's a lot of smart people with calculators working numbers.
Slide rules.
Slide rules and everything that come up with it, that at the end of the day, we have an interest rate that we like, and we buy a house. That's all I need to know.
And we have a need to buy a house.
Yes, absolutely.
So most economists agree that we're actually in a bit of a mild recession right now. And you can see that. That should be no surprise to anybody listening, because the investment markets are down, substantially.
Yes.
And the economy, even though there's a good jobless rate, we definitely see signs that we're in a bit of a recession. And here's what's interesting. Even with the investment markets down and interest rates up, Dave, Cindy, people are still buying and selling homes right now.
Absolutely. And interest rates historically, we got a little jaded in the super low rate window.
Yes.
But historically, this is really still a very affordable interest rate.
Cindy, you talked about interest rates a little earlier, and I remember just when I started in real estate, rates were between 9.5 and 10, like you talked about.
Yes.
We were excited about single digit rates. I remember a lot of first time buyers trying to jump on this thing called bond money. And here in Oklahoma, it was at 8.625%. Dave, buyers were fighting to get locked in on that money because it was in limited supply. And you could only lock a rate and reserve the money if you had a contract on a home. You couldn't just call up
Wow.
and say, I want to reserve the money. You had to have an accepted contract with an address of a home. And I mean, buyers were fighting to get this money.
See, and that's
just about
perspective.
8.5.
You talked about that, it's
Exactly.
perspective, because right now it's, let's just throw it out there, it's 6.5 basically, and we're sitting here thinking like, should I pull the trigger on that or not? And it's, we don't know if what things in life is going to happen the next year or two. We might be at 8.5. I hope we're not, but we could be at 8.5 a couple of years from now. We could be at 5. We don't know. But we do know that right now, it's a decent rate.
The long-term outlook is, I see a lot of people saying and believing that by the end of the year and into next year, we could get back into the 5s.
Okay.
Here's what appears to be very clear right now. Rates appear they're going to hold at or very near current levels for an extended period, probably at least the next few months, if maybe not into the end of the year. You hit it about right. Rates have been about 6 3/4 over the last week. Within the last 2 weeks,
Yes.
they've been between, say, 6 5/8 to 7%. So there is still some volatility. But the number of available homes for sale does not appear it's going to spike. There's no reason to believe that suddenly a whole lot of people
Yeah.
who hadn't planned to sell were just going to go throw their home on the market. Because many homeowners are staying put. They've got a low mortgage rate on their home that they love. And their dream home's not coming available that makes them want to move. So this leaves the inventory of available homes very low and shrinking as we go through June and July, as we talked about. Buyer demand
Yes.
is at its highest point right now.
Yep.
And will be for the next 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks. And in a year following a shortage of inventory, this is really important for homeowners listening. History has shown that home values increase, not fall, when you come out of a year where there was very little inventory for sale. So I think if you're buying, that's very positive. If you're worried that you would buy and your market value is going to correct, that's not what history is going to show us here. It says that if you buy now and there's a shortage of inventory, home values should go up next year. If you're a homeowner that's not moving this year and that's not an option, and you're thinking about moving next year, I think you'll be in good shape. So if home values are going to increase, Dave, why wait to buy? I mean, it's always been the American dream
Yes.
to own a home, watch
Yes.
your asset grow in value, which looks like it will still do, and having an interest deduction to boot to write off your interest, like Cindy talked about. So if you plan to sell with inventory low and now dropping every week for the next few weeks, why wait? Capital gains laws favor selling and moving every 2 years if you're in a principal residence that you haven't written off for business
Okay.
or rental purposes. If you haven't sold another principal residence over the last 2 years, a couple can make up to a $500,000 gain every 2 years, right, Cindy?
That's correct.
Shelter that and not pay taxes on that money. So, when I sell anything, Dave, I'll just wrap up by saying when I sell anything, I want to sell it when the market's the best. And look how much used cars went up when they couldn't get chips.
Crazy.
And used cars were selling for as much as what people paid for them or more. That's what happens when inventory is low. And
Yeah.
that's what's happening with the available number of homes today.
It's the sweet spot. If you want to sell your home, you need to do it right now because you mentioned it's right there. It's 6 weeks of prime selling season. We're in the middle of the summer. I can't reiterate enough. Families, want to move now to get their kids in the new neighborhood, get them their new friends before they start school. And the inventory is going lower and lower, so there's going to be more demand until there's no demand because there's a time limit. When we get late July and August, those families are done. They've bought their homes. This is the time right now.
If you know someone thinking about buying or selling, it is a good time. People are buying, people are selling. And so I'd recommend take action if you're thinking about hopping into this year's real estate market. Right, Cindy?
That's right. And you know, Dave, you said something interesting. You said we really don't know the future, but there is something we do know, and that's that we have a need for a home to live in. We have a family.
Absolutely.
And that is going to go on. And so that's something that's just crucial for our life.
And needs change too, don't they, Cindy?
They
needs
do.
change, and this is the reason a lot of people are still buying. And the inventory wants more market right now. Pardon me, it wants more homes for sale.
That's right.
And so again, it's a good market, Dave. Interest rates are reasonable, and we're here to be good consultants in making the best decision for your family.
Fantastic. This is the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally Kerr. I'm your host, Dave McKay, here every Saturday mornings. You can hear the replay Sundays at noon. And again, we can't thank enough our wonderful guest we had this morning. Cindy, thanks for joining us this morning.
It was fun. I really enjoyed my first time on the radio,
that
so
was a
I
lot
hope
of fun.
I did okay.
You're fantastic. You sound like an old pro, so that was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And again, we'll see you next week.
See you next week, Dave. Thank you.